Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
It is 2013. We are here, at least on the Gregorian calendar. The Chinese New Year, I guess, starts in about a month. It'll be the fitting year of the snake. Year of the New World Order. And I guess the age of Aquarius is kicked off as well. The Illuminati believes that they are about to ascend to power. Whether you believe in that or not, they believe in it. And that is why they are moving on every single front. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we are live here. And we are going to be here for the next 3 hours on this New Year's Day. The globalists are not just going to try to strangle the Second Amendment using the deaths of the poor children at Sandy Hook. They are going to annihilate publicly the entire Bill of Rights and Constitution and basically have a political orgy in the blood. And here is one of the headlines. Democrats crank up death panel talk following Obama win. That's a Kurt Nimmo, Infowars.com headline. Here's the actual Slate headline by a George Soros operative. The case for death panels. Remember the headline in, what was it, Newsweek, the case for killing Granny? While they, but that was after Obamacare passed. Before they said, conspiracy theory, we would never. That is preposterous. Wayne LaPierre comes out and says, we need to arm the school teachers like Israel. That stopped their mass shootings in schools. That's ridiculous. And Israel doesn't have any guns. Guns are outlawed there. Talking to you like you've got a 55 IQ. And you know what? It works on people because the average person isn't even so much stupid as they're incredibly toddling and lazy. And just get into, oh, the hype, the soap opera, the cover of People magazine, the dead children, tuning in and lighting candles. But if you go, hey, they're killing kids with drones. Hey, thousands die a year from the inoculations in the U.S. alone. Tens of thousands of kids per Asian country get paralyzed with a polio shot. Shut up, extremist. Doesn't exist. See, if there's any inkling of responsibility for jellyfish people, they say it doesn't exist. But if it's like the big mainstream media, time to get sad, time to get upset, time to do something. Let's do something right now. And so you've got the domesticated mass literally sucking their Prozac thumbs, sitting on their Prozac thumbs, looking at us, the people that at least know that we're in deep trouble and the society's in a very decadent downward spiral. And they're looking at us going, men with guns, go get their guns. They shouldn't have them. I'm scared of them with guns. But I like your black uniform. I like it. I like checkpoints. It makes me feel safe. Hey, did you know government killed 260+ million people? Major university studies like University of Hawaii. Whatever, conspiracy theorists, there's no death panels, but there are. So here it is, the case for death panels. There's a bunch of articles out going, you want to fix the economy, kill old people. And so I want to, after a special guest, remember Suzanna Hupp, who was one of the Luby's massacre survivors, former state rep after that, local talk show host on our local affiliate, 590 AM. She's going to be popping in later in the second hour for about 15, 20 minutes. Remember, she testified to Congress. She said, we have our guns to protect us from you. They're not for duck hunting. So, yeah, that's the lady. She's going to be joining us, a fellow Texan. But other than that, we're going to have open phones today. And I'm going to wait till later in the broadcast to get into Agenda 21 and what it really means. How it means eugenics, how it means death panels. So that is all coming up today. And they're also declaring war on the Constitution, calling it evil. The Obamanoids are. So it's like a case of hemorrhoids, the Obamanoids. We'll be right back. Well, worse than hemorrhoids, actually. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. It is the first day of January 2013. In the Chinese zodiac, the year of the snake kicks off on the 23rd. A fitting title. And for the globalist, it is To Tyranny and Beyond. You know, Buzz Lightyear says to infinity and beyond. For the globalist, tyranny is just the beginning of their absolute takeover and re-engineering of what's left of humanity in an ultimate act of complete domination. The globalists in all their publications brag how they have generationally worked to take over much of the planet so that they can fully, irrevocably savage humanity and reduce the population down to almost nothing so that they can take full control of human development and basically use those of us that are left as playthings or as test subjects for life extension technologies and other systems. And that is what we face in 2013 is the velvet glove being taken off of the iron fist. I had a caller yesterday who asked me, why do you sound so irritated sometimes when you are taking phone calls? And it's because of a lot of things, because sometimes I hear the rebroadcast and I sound friendly and nice and answer the questions and am congenial. Other times I hear rebroadcast occasionally when I can stomach listening to myself, and I sound pained, I sound rude. And it's really because I am exhausted at many core levels, but also energized at core levels. So I've got a big heart for the fight against the globalist, but physically, especially if I don't get enough sleep or don't eat enough, or I get overly angry at the globalist, I tend to kind of overheat like a race car engine and, well, explode. That's the answer to the fellow's question, because I thought about that last night. And I've had this as a resolution many times, because back when I was first on talk radio 17 years ago, I was pretty much a call-driven show. I would do a 2-3 hour radio show every day, and 80% of it was phone calls because I enjoyed the phone calls. Now, I've always got so many things on my mind and so much news that I'm frustrated that I'm not getting to all the news that I've researched and want to cover. I'm frustrated because of the spoken words limitations to describe fully what an article or a piece of news signifies. And I'm frustrated that I want to take a lot of your calls, but that I then tend to not go to your calls. And when I do, they're complex questions or complex issues, and I basically throw little mini temper tantrums because it's almost like an interrogation. I love going out and meeting listeners. I love going out and doing events, but at the same time, I hate it because it's very exhausting. If I go out and talk to a couple thousand people after an event and shake hands for 3 hours and listen to their questions and listen to their comments, it's draining because I actually listen to you. I actually gauge you. I actually read you as a person. And that's very tiring. And it's the same thing with all this news. I mean, I researched news last night. I researched it this morning. I have stacks, over 100 articles here I want to get into. Huge piles of video clips I want to analyze. But each article, when I pick up one of these articles or I pick up one of these quotes, I have to summon the data in my mind associated with that information. And so that itself is a frustrating event. And I mean, just thinking about it right now is making me nauseated. I'm not like running on the air happy I've got a clip of Dianne Feinstein saying her goal is to disarm the general population, quote, Mr. and Mrs. America. I already knew that was her goal and read her quotes over the years, but it's painful to look at. It's painful. And then it's painful to try to put all the evidence on display for you. But enough about that. I'm going to give the number out here, and I don't want people to call in and go, oh, we appreciate you. Oh, you're great. That's not why I'm whining about this on air. I'm telling you about this so you'll understand where I come from, so you can put up with me. Some of you that get irritated by hearing the irritation in my voice. It's not with you. It's with that I know I'm right. I know that I understand the enemy. The enemy is so arrogant they brag about their plans everywhere. And I am fundamentally upset. I'm upset with the globalist. I'm upset with the general public being weak-minded. I'm upset with myself not being able to fully articulate what I know and understand, because if you knew what I knew, if you could see what I see, our troubles would be over very, very quickly. But then I realized the general public is literally being swallowed by fraud. The alternative media, as bad as it is, because but at least it's real and it's human. And the globalists try to inject cognitive infiltration that Cass Sunstein talked about at the White House to create infighting and kind of a background noise to nullify us, but it still isn't working because there's an overdriving human survival instinct that still beats in the most unconscious of people. But my goal is to really try to awaken humanity and to try to reverse our course, because the course we're headed on is oblivion. It is anathema to everything good and wholesome. People say, why does evil always get in control throughout time? Because it has the desire for the power. And I study the scientific crafting of the system where they roll out certain technologies and certain systems, and then we beg and clamor and pay for them as status symbols when they are tools of control. But then to even reach in to the matrix, proto-matrix system that the general public has already fallen to, you must use the tools of the enemy. I am not against technology, but again, to use a Lord of the Rings analogy, because that seems to get through to people, rings are made for all the races in Middle-earth, for the elves, for the dwarves, for the men. The rings are made by the older creations of the entity, the God that created the universe. So it basically has kind of a Christian timeline in Tolkien's writings. If you get deeper into it, it's an analogy, an allegory. And the rings are forged, and the 9 rings are given to men, and the certain amount are given to the elves and the dwarves, and they have incredible power in them inherently. And it's given to them by an angelic creature, but the angelic creature has decided to become destructive. It's Lucifer, Morgoth, hence Mordor. And Morgoth falls and is reincarnated as Sauron. But the point is that the rings are given, and you take the rings. You take the cell phone, you take the smart meter, you go into the gym, and they go, discount of your thumbprint to sign up. And you do it all Pavlovianly set up, like a chicken pecking a tic-tac-toe machine to get grain. And it is a system of total control designed to get you into an electronic straitjacket, to cut off self-sufficiency, to shut down the family farms, to make you dependent, to bring you into model, compact, Agenda 21 cities that are advertised again as cool and fun, to then have controlled bioweapon attacks that are released as people go into more authoritarian control in the name of avoiding the biological warfare attacks that they claim terrorists are going to launch. As we sit there huddled in our compact cities, watching the general third world population wiped out in the future, you need to understand that it is the globalist orchestrating all of this, and anything they give you, anything we use, anything in our culture that has been rolled out and promoted by the system is a ring of power. Will you guys print me the intro to the Lord of the Rings book? It's one ring to bind them, in the darkness bind them. I want that full quote when we come back if we can. One ring to rule them all. Because that's really what it is. And in the darkness bind them. We are fighting adherents of death and destruction and ugliness. It is what they resonate with. It is what they will create. And it's in their globalist literature. It's in everything they say, everything they do. And so later I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get into top professors demonizing the Constitution and calling it evil and saying get rid of it. They're openly saying, yes, kill the old people now, all over the news. You see, they're not just going to go after the guns. The fact that they're going after them and saying openly we want you to turn them in is the signal that the real third act has begun. And if you look at the arrogance and the fire in the enemy's eyes right now, they're on the march. They have decided to drop the hammer. And I can tell you, along with that will be false flag staged terror attacks. Blamed on us. So you're thinking they'll never get away with this? They're going to attack themselves and blame it on us. A great time of evil is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. And you better decide which side you're on. My New Year's resolution is when I give the number out, I'm going to take the calls. And if I don't get to them, we're going to wipe the phones out till I do go to calls. We're going to take your calls on any issue you want to discuss straight ahead. 800-259-9231. It is January 1st, 2013. That'll take some getting used to. 800-259-9231. It is the first day of 2013. I've done a lot of soul searching, and I want to commit to you in this year that I'm going to put out the greatest output of information and of the highest quality that we have ever produced. I am going to make a new official film this year. I've not announced that yet. I will on Friday. I meant to do it a few weeks ago, but got behind, announced the biggest contest we've ever done. It'll be a $100,000 contest, and it is key to our Paul Revere operation. In fact, that's what I intend to call it, Operation Paul Revere. We are going to launch the TV show onto the satellites, and I am going to create informational videos on certain key subjects explaining how things work, basically keys to unlocking the secrets of the New World Order and how to defeat them, because I do understand their operations. I understand all of their operations. It does not mean that I can consciously at one time grasp the entire compendium of their system, but if I focus on particular subsectors of it, I can see right down to the bone on what they're doing, because they've published their operational manuals and only thinly veil and compartmentalize their true goals. In fact, in many cases, they openly brag. Also, many of the servants of total evil are very twisted and weak people. And they almost reflexively, in the control systems, are used to dealing with the zombified public that is in a trance state. So those of us that are in different degrees of awakening, it's like watching people in slow motion. And so don't ever forget how much power you've really got if, by the grace of God, your consciousness has not been shuttered. Again, my friends, it is Tuesday, the first day of January 2013. When we come back from break, I will go to your phone calls at 800-259-9231. And just be ready. I know I've said this over and over again, but it's my New Year's resolution. To make your point, I'm going to try to go to the next person. It's just sometimes the calls are so incredible, or they're breaking such amazing news. Like the caller yesterday going, yeah, they've got hidden cameras in the VA, in the smoke detectors in Tampa. And we search engine it, and there it is in the Tampa newspaper. And they're like, oh, we're allowed to secretly watch you. Well, yeah, I mean, they got cameras in the bathrooms at public schools for 15 years. They government-issued laptops, watch you at home. I mean, it's just all over the top. And that's just what you know about. I mean, I don't just get up here and say almost every vaccine they look at has cancer viruses in it on purpose. I've got the top scientist bragging. I've played the video clips of the polio developer, going, yeah, we knew we gave 100 million Americans the first round. cancer viruses, and it's killed tens of millions, and then they laugh about it on PBS, on the PBS station in Boston. I mean, when you get these globalists together, like on TED TV, Bill Gates gets up there and goes, we're going to reduce the carbon output. That means reduce this down to 0. And he puts an image of stick figures of a family up there, and the TED TV conference elitist all laugh. They're not liberals, they're killers. You don't get in the club unless you go, yeah, I see the public as animals, I want to kill them. And they go, good, you're part of the team. You have the will to be cold-blooded and understand survival of the fittest. No, what you are is going to be used and destroyed. I will assure you, I will assure all of you that you will be destroyed. You will not get a seat at this table. You understand that? One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. Is that not the technocratic surveillance, smart grid, tracking everything we do? One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them through taxation and control. And they also kill you with the wireless systems as well. Stay with us. We'll be back.
It's Alex Jones.
That's right. Coming up, the defense of the Republic. Okay, I'm going to go directly to your calls. And then Rick Perry has signed an order that's got no attention to bring in the Trans-Texas NAFTA Superhighway, even though our state representatives have voted it down twice. What Mordor wants, Mordor gets until the public awakens. And we have top Georgetown professors, advisors to Obama, saying the Constitution is just a criminal document. Those are some of the quotes. We're going to be going over all that. They're openly announcing all over the place that we need to kill old people, get rid of them. I'm going to explain to you how the collectivist model works. And there is no doubt that collectivism is a nightmare. It sounds good. It'll make you feel good up front at the beginning, like the first time you inject heroin. But it leads to absolute ruination and domestication and dehumanization. But it's like the ring of power. People believe because they're good, they could have a big government that would redistribute wealth. My friends, the globalists that have set up collectivism and that run the world economy are absolutely cold-blooded exterminists, ultra-Hitlerian eugenicists. And anything they do with taxes will be turned towards bad in the end. And we told you that once they got health care in, they would start the death panels because they've done it in dozens of other countries. They follow a program. We can look at scores of nations further down the line than we are. It's a blueprint. It's like a movie we've already seen over and over again, and that's what's so frustrating. They teach the general public that everything is your opinion. No, this is not my opinion. This is not my opinion. If you walk out on the top of a 50-story building without a parachute and you jump off that thing and swan dive towards the concrete below, you are going to die. That is not my opinion. And if you let the globalists execute their plan, it's like steps downwards into hell. We know where each step goes, just like a detailed roadmap. There is no debate. I'm going to go to your phone calls. Justin in Missouri, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Welcome.
I just wanted to ask you what you think they're going to sneak into that fiscal negotiation regarding the Second Amendment.
Oh, that's a good point. They can have the government shut down, the welfare checks or credits not be put on the cards, and then Feinstein, who is key on the committee, to be able to control what bills can go in and out or what agreements, they're saying that her bill, she's the one that wrote it and got it rammed through with Biden in 1993. They're saying it's her bill. I mean, she's the person that Obama's going to hand the ball to. She's the running back. And they're running, the play to try to engage in a 100-yard drive against us. And they intend to do it. And again, the fiscal cliff has been done in Iceland, everywhere else. We said this was coming. They say, oh my gosh, we're holding up the budget. Everything will collapse. The street lights won't be on. The police won't get paid. It's all over. Or we'll lose our credit rating if we don't raise taxes and increase the national debt. And this is all maneuvering us into abject collapse, which is what a group of loan-sharking foreign banks who are loaning us our own money back would do. So it is rack and ruin. It is a direct course. And that's why I got so angry on the hike and bike trail. I got to start wearing, like earplugs or something last Friday, because I'm sitting there, or was it Saturday, and I've run up to the top of a hill and I'm stretching, and I hear these three guys who were obviously in state government, because I could hear how they were talking, and they were manager level. They all thought they were really smart, their whole bearing, and they were just bragging. That don't worry, Obama knows how to deal with them. Boehner's on the team. He once the third comes, he'll be elected to leadership, and then he can do whatever he wants. Boehner can, and the economy isn't going to go down. They actually believe Obama's their buddy, and they're supporting it, and they're trying to fix things, I mean, the government puts cancer viruses in shots and tries to get you to take them, you dumb idiot. They want to kill you. And I just looked at the guys, and I turned on the charisma, not on purpose. I'm much more charismatic in person. And I just literally said, well, I already talked about it on air. I broke it down, and at the end, those guys were shaken. And they should be, because they just heard truth. And they went, yeah, like Greece. Yeah, you're right. Oh. I was like, well, do something about it. I told him, I said, you know the truth. See, you just knew the truth. But you were up here having what you thought was a politically correct discussion, like children in dress-up pretending they're the Lone Ranger and Tonto. You're a real human alive in 2013. This was 2012. There's a real war going on. Wake up and get involved in it now. Stop living a fantasy land. I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's just. I thought it was going to be another. Got to read it to see what's in it. Like the healthcare bill. And it wouldn't shock me at all if they try to completely go after the Second Amendment in little sneaky ways in there.
No, it's God bless you, sir. I appreciate your call. First caller of 2013, my friend. Chet in New York. Chet, you're on the air. Welcome.
Happy New Year's, Alex and bunch. Hey, I'm up here in the New Rome, actually. Now, it was New York, but now that we have Emperor Cuomo involved with his new degree of gun confiscation, which, he's right in line with Dianne Feinstein there.
Yeah, he said he may issue a gubernatorial executive order and just have you hand them in. How's that sound?
Yeah, shocking. The thing is, I think the rest of the country, they look at New York like, that liberal part, New York City, Manhattan. You've been around there. A lot of nice people, but, it's the politics. New York's got a lot of rural areas, hunters, etc., and people have been massing, arms all over the country.
No, I know. Listen, upstate New York and rural areas of New York, I've been there many times. I know the culture absolutely is about as country boy can survive as Alabama or East Texas, or same thing with Northern California. Anywhere where people actually live in the countryside, in the real world, and actually work, they understand that you need guns to protect yourself. And we've got all the people in the city who are domesticated, who are delusional, and really think the government's their friend.
I agree 100%. Like I said, I think, you guys hit the point before where, nobody's calling for violence on our end, but it looks like they're really pushing their little, I think their explosion button on themselves, because there's a lot of people that are just not going to give their guns up, because I've spoke with them. So, I just figured I'd throw it at you, my friend, and hey, great work you're doing. A lot of other people get in on this New Year's, but I'm staying optimistic because there's so many of us now, Well,
I appreciate your call, my friend. Look, I'll just say this. Everybody needs to be involved in a maximum effort now to engage government and collaborator globalist occupation media and let them know, hey, we know you're authoritarian criminals that want to disarm us. You don't call up and say, hey, you know, guns actually protect people 80-plus times more often than they're used in the commission of a crime. Hey, areas that have more guns have lower crime. Hey, England's crime rate tripled. I kept saying doubled. It tripled. And is the highest in Europe since they took the guns 15, 16 years ago. Same thing with Australia and New Zealand. They know that. They're predators. All those media people getting paid millions of dollars a year have bodyguards. They lived in armed areas. Their kids go to schools with armed guards. They know. They sit around and talk about how you're dumb and how you're scum. They can't even contain it on MSNBC. Anyone that lives in the Southwest, anyone that lives in the South, Midwest, that's like 80% of the country, you are scum. You are filth. If you're a white person, they say you're dumb, you're ugly, you're scum, you're stupid. And that if you don't accept socialism, you're a racist. It is a total delusional elitist attitude. I've been behind the scenes at CNN, you name it, over the years. And these are cold-blooded mercenaries. These are mercs. And their uniform is a camouflage of non-threatening hippieism. Folks, they're not hippies. They are shock troops, stormtroopers, the army of death. Okay? And they learned, as Margaret Sanger, under the advisement of Edward Bernays and the Rockefeller Foundation, go read their quotes, to pose as non-threatening, egalitarian philanthropists. They have the moral high ground. They care. Well, there's no death panels. Really, the bill has it. The books written by Daschle that wrote it says it. Wrote those provisions. No, that's not in the book. Don't listen to him, knowing no one's going to go read it and find out we're telling the truth. That the Israelis don't own guns. Don't listen to him. There's no world government. Well, I have hundreds of announcements out of the Bilderberg and Davos of world government and world taxes. Those don't exist, children. They talked, and they go, we talk with a soft NPR voice. You ever tune into NPR and every person on there? I was one time being interviewed by NPR, and they said, can you talk softer? Can you settle down? During the interview, they taped it down at UT. That's down there where their local studios are. This is like 13 years ago or something. And they're coming over the ISDN line going, sir, can you try to talk in a softer voice? I wasn't even yelling. I go, well, this is what my voice sounds like. And they're like, well, can you just sort of softer? And the woman was on the line going, can you relax? Relax. You know, I grew up around rural folks. Many months out of the year being sent down to work on the ranch from the time I was about 11 on. And I've talked to people that deal with horses, and what you deal when a horse gets old is you do have a trailer come pick it up to take it to the Elmer's glue factory. And I was never there when they sold horses or got rid of them, but you sit there and the trailer pulls up and you walk over and because horses are real smart. They're just real instinctive. That's why people think they're stupid. No, they're real smart, but their instincts are really strong. So it's like they have a mind, but they can't use it. And they know you may have loaded that horse in a trailer 10 times in that year, but you're loading them in a trailer to go butcher them. They're not going to want to get in the trailer. And you just come over and you shh. Here's some range cubes. Here's some apple. Shh, come on. Come on, let's get in the trailer. Shh. Hi, this is NPR. Just get in the trailer. Hey, little girl. Hey, little boy, come get in the van. I got candy. Hi, I got a puppy. I got candy. I got some free health care for you. I'm going to give you some more welfare. I got an Obama phone. Get in the car. We got some shots for you. It's so you don't get sick. Come on. Come on, get in the car. Get in the van. Yeah, but my mommy says don't. It's all right, Mommy. Mommy's in the van. Mommy's in the van. Your government, it's nice. Come on. Get in. We wouldn't stage Sandy Hook. No. Get on in the van. Get on in. Get on in, sweetie. Van door slams. Eat the candy. Well, I want my mommy. It's okay, eat the candy. And then the tape comes out around the head. And then they tie you up. Tie the 3-year-old up. Oh, Oh, yes, that's how it works. Let's go ahead and talk to Alice in Kansas. Alice, you're on the air. Should I talk in an NPR voice? Hi, Alice. Good to have you on with us on All Things Considered. Welcome.
Hi, Alex. I've been listening to you for 15 years, and I feel your exhaustion and your pain. I understand where you're coming from. And I just felt a leading of the Holy Spirit to give you something that might comfort you. It should take less than 2 minutes. There are 5 points. I just want you to maybe listen and consider in your prayer time. I wanted to tell you that you are a warrior of the Lord. He has chosen you, and in the end, you answer only to the Lord. It doesn't matter what any man thinks of you. Number 2, you are the teacher. Listeners are the students. It is a privilege for the student to come to your class. You give it out, and the wind blows where it will. They either get it or they don't. You have fulfilled your vow and responsibility to God, and that's who you answer to, period. Number 3, you don't just justify yourself to any man anymore. If they don't like your class, they can leave it and turn it off. They can address the issues, but they cannot attack your character. As soon as they attempt to assault you, that ends the call. No exceptions. And do not address it further. Just go to the next call like you would if someone was using foul language. I'm nervous.
Well, let me just add this, ma'am, your kind words. I think we're all teaching each other. Life is a great college. And I have asked God that my prayer is, God, I'm weak. I'm evil. I'm a sinner. Please help me be a good person. And in these desperate times, please use me to be a vessel to stand against people that want to hurt innocents. I'm weak. Will you please give me the strength to do what has to be done? That's my prayer. And that's what I stand for. And that's basically all I can do. And I think that's all anybody else can do. But my great calling, God's laid it on my heart, is to get other people to stand up and be leaders as well. And I know there are people out there listening who feel the calling to stand against evil, but you're so humble, you're like, well, I'm not a leader. And I think what you're saying to me is, I am a leader. I need to stop being not so much humble. Humble's good, but not let that get in the way of standing up and really resisting. And I say that to others. We have a job to do, and it doesn't mean we're going to do it perfect. We just got to ask God, help us do the right thing, and then let God sort it out. We've got to give it to God. But that doesn't mean just give it to God and then do nothing. It means, God, lead me. And I'm telling you, folks, if you ask God for discernment and if you ask God to open the universe up to you, it will happen. Now, I want to warn people, though. When the universe really opens up, it is mind-blowing, and it only intensifies. Do you see my point?
Yes, I see your point. I have two more things to say. Okay. The fourth one is, be aware of the wiles of the devil. Satan comes but to rob, kill, and destroy. And every time you allow a caller to assault your character, you waste the next 20 minutes of valuable airtime that God gave you explaining your righteousness. It gets you all upset, it makes you physically ill, and it hurts your body. It exhausts you. What a great weapon he uses against you, and he uses it frequently. So draw your sword, put up your shield, and allow it no further, and then your peace will come back to you. Number 5, don't allow the praises of men. Men betray, but God will never betray. It, too, is a weapon of warfare and used against you. If you will let it, it can alter your ego. Seek only the praises of God.
I agree, Alice. I'm out of time. Great call. God bless you. And this New Year's resolution to take more calls and to work harder is the way to go. What's the saying? Duty is a mountain, death is a feather. We'll be back with more of your calls. Stay with us. Yeah, I've been watching. I've been waiting. Welcome back. Monday through Friday, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern. What is that, 9 to noon Pacific? We are here live, ladies and gentlemen. I am Alex Jones, your host. Calls this segment and the next. Then Representative Suzanna Hupp is scheduled to pop in with us. She's one of the survivors of the Luby massacre. Spoke out in Congress eloquently. Always good to have her pop in. She's been on a few times over the years. And then at the bottom of the next hour, we'll continue with calls and news. After I get into a breakdown where I need to be calm and try to go over what Agenda 21 really is. Not just they're going to make you live in a 250 square foot thing and double your taxes. It's more than that. It's designed to destroy civilization. It was Oliver Wendell Holmes that, to paraphrase, basically said that taxes are the cost of civilization. Well, what about when your taxes are used to create a Malthusian destructive civilization? So we're going to be breaking that down here today. The exact quote is, taxes are the price we pay for civilization. Briefly here, ladies and gentlemen, the new InfoWars magazine is out. It's available to buy in bulk at cost in groups of 10 up to 100. Big, color, the size of the old Rolling Stone, full of graphics, documents, articles. 2013, the year America dies, you can buy them in bulk. It's like giving somebody a colored book, basically. And as print goes out, we go into print. Because we should be balanced. We shouldn't just be internet only. We should have hard copies of things. And so I've committed that we're going to always put out hard copies of whatever we produce, whether it's films or you name it. Very important. And so you can get the January issue, 2013, the year America dies, ? Very powerful issue. And you can, again, order it at InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139. We have the high-quality Pro Pure water filters that I use, the gravity-fed stainless steel systems, the best out there, with 10% off with the promo code WATER at the already lowest prices at InfoWarsStore.com. You can also call 888-253-3139. And your purchase of books, videos, all of it supports this broadcast, the amazing healthcare products that we've researched and used, the best out there, at InfoWarsHealth.com as well. You can also sign up to be a distributor with us and get discounts at InfoWarsHealth.com. Okay, let's go back to the calls. Al in Delaware. Al, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Alex, congratulations on making it to 2013. You're a trooper, my man. You're the son I never had. You are the light at the end of the tunnel. Haven't talked to you in a couple years. I got to tell you, you're the reason I was able to take my home from the bank. You're the reason that I've been able to survive this long, preparing and getting ready. These people are bat-eared warlocks, rabid dogs off the leash. No such thing as a politician. They're politicians. Alex, you've taken me places I could have never gone elsewhere. I've lost all my friends, but I've got you and 3 loyal dogs, and I couldn't be happier. Thank you.
Well, your friends are in the Matrix, and, you know, wear an InfoWars T-shirt. You'll find like-minded people in your area. But, yeah, folks that bought gold, when we said buy it at 300, have done well. We've taught folks how the banks run scams. I've had countless people show up at events where we just told them about mineral supplementation, where they're, you know, literally healthy now from death's doorstep. And none of it is a secret. The globalists know all this. See, that's what's so frustrating about it all. But you know what? Liberty is the light at the end of the tunnel. We are just a window into liberty and freedom, my friend. Anything else you'd like to add here?
Yeah, the truth is driving people crazy. They just can't take it. Well, I'll tell you something. They called me a drug dealer at settlement, and I said, oh, no, you don't, after 30 years of a builder. I got a lawyer, and in a half an hour, they gave me my house, right after signing the Patriot Act. And I served in the military. These are corrupt, dangerous, hell on wheels, nightmarish people there. The politicians...
I tell you what, stay there. I want to come back to you. You're on fire. You're right. They are rabid dog warlocks in giant hordes like locusts. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now into hour number 2. We have former state rep and Luby's massacre survivor, Suzanna Hupp, joining us. And then we're going to continue with your phone calls. But right now we're talking to Al in Delaware. He was talking about how they use the Patriot Act. Yeah, they'll just come in and foreclose on a house that's even paid for, where they don't even have a note in some cases, and they'll just say, you're a drug dealer. I mean, the cops pull you over now and just say, we're going to search you. We think you're a drug dealer, when the government ships it all in. They play all sorts of crazy games. This whole Patriot Act, the whole Homeland Security system, it was always set up and designed and aimed at the American people. That's always been the case. And now they're just going to let you know in the next 4 years. It's official. They're announcing death panels to kill old people. They're saying the Constitution is evil and must be overthrown. I've got articles that's coming up. Add any other points, Al, you needed to make?
Well, the points I want to make is that every time we turn around, the government is hijacking industry. They're hijacking every last one of us now. They have literally shanghaied the Constitution. They're coming at us in such an evil, and just utterly egregious. I call them fleas, Alex. These are felonious litigators egregiously attacking society. And let me tell you something. You work your whole life to build up your wealth, and you think for 1 minute they're not coming to get it. You think for 1 minute they're not going to addict you to some bogus financial product, and then you're going to build your wealth, you're going to renovate your homes, you're going to put your children through college. For what? Let me tell you what it's for. It's the shackles of debt and lies, and this is where we're at. They've not just done this country, Alex. They've done the whole world, the entire world.
No, they follow a blueprint. That's what I'm telling the domesticated people that are in this delusion that the overall controllers of the system are their friends. They are totally ruthless. And just like Suzanna Hupp said, 15, 16 years ago to Congress that she owns firearms to protect herself from government, that's what the founding fathers said. And that's what it's all about. And everywhere they've taken the guns, the crime rate explodes. They love it. This is a criminal energy, a criminal force. Look at Congress involved in insider trading. When they got caught, they said, well, we'll pass a law to outlaw it, which actually legalized it, where they can just get a waiver. It is insane what we're dealing with.
The laws they create are lies. We know our documents. Look, we're naked. We don't have a Justice Department, Alex. We don't have 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is nothing but a crow's nest. These people are so far gone plotting their next move on you, and everybody's walking around like, oh, everything's going to be fine, the economy will turn around, and socialism's not so bad. I just about can't take another minute.
No, they sell them. They throw America in the water and then throw the life raft out of socialism when it's actually a bowling ball to take you to the bottom. And when you get to the bottom, they go, here's another bowling ball. And again, the truth is that people are in two camps. They're either waking up or they're asleep. And God help us, because they are demonizing gun owners, calling them Nazis, Klan members, baby killers, scum of the earth. They demonize a group before they come after you, and they want a purge of gun owners. We have former Representative Suzanna Hupp on the line with us. We're going to come back from break and talk to her and play that short clip of her from her longer testimony that's so famous before Congress, telling Chucky Schumer and others, hey, we don't have these guns. I'm sick of hearing about how it's for duck hunting. It's to protect us from you guys up there, a.k.a. Waco and events like that. And the full testimony we've posted up at Infowars.com, but I wanted to get her take on the other side about this unprecedented. Dianne Feinstein, our video, still posted at drudgereport.com on the right-hand side. This video of Dianne Feinstein saying, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn in your guns. That's a quote. In fact, let's get that clip ready. I want to play that for her. She's also a talk show host on 590, one of my affiliates, one of our 140 plus. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us. We'll be back. Representative Suzanna Hupp, former representative. She's a survivor of the Luby's massacre. Some of her family was killed. She famously testified before Congress to Chucky Schumer that, hey, our guns aren't for duck hunting. The full testimony's up at Infowars.com right now. We just reposted it up there. She said it's to protect us from you guys up there. And I wanted to get her on the air because she was instrumental nationwide, testifying before legislatures everywhere, not just the Texas legislature that she later chaired committees on, to get concealed carry in. And we've seen 25, 30% or more reductions in every state that's done it. So she'll be joining us till the bottom of the hour here in just a moment. Here is just a short excerpt of her testimony before Congress.
The Second Amendment is not about duck hunting. And I know I'm not going to make very many friends saying this, but it's about our rights, all of our rights, to be able to protect ourselves from all of you guys up there.
Man, and boy, that was back in the mid-1990s, and here we are in 2013. Great way to kick off the new year with a champion of liberty, who I've got to say, if any one person got concealed carry in, you can say what you want about it turning a right into a privilege. The point is that it put guns on the street in law-abiding citizens' hands, and the criminals are keeping their heads down. Violent crime down over 20% nationwide on average since then. We've shown the new FBI statistics. Except in areas where they've taken the guns, crime is up. Former representative, talk show host on 590 AM, you name it, best-selling author. Mrs. Hupp, good to have you on with us.
Hey, Happy New Year to you, Alex.
Wow, I am excited. What's your take on everything that's happening and the open calls now in the Feinstein bill to physically make you turn guns in?
It's a scary thing, isn't it? I've talked to a lot of friends of mine who we all kind of talk big. You know, you hear the from my cold dead fingers comments. But the truth of the matter is, if a bunch of jackbooted thugs show up at my door and put a gun to my child's head and says, turn over all your guns or else, I'm probably going to turn over my guns. You know, so I think it's really important, and I think this is why so often revolutions are mostly about young people and young people without extended families. You know what I mean? It's a scary world right now.
It certainly is, but there's 160+ million gun owners. If 1% fight back, that's 1.5 million soldiers. I agree, most people are going to turn them in, at least in the first wave, but the tyranny that follows is going to result in a civil war. And if you notice all the branding of Obama as the new Lincoln and how he's going to kick the butt of the states, it's pretty creepy.
It is. It's very frightening. And, when I talk about people turning in their guns, I think there are an awful lot of people that are going out of their way to purchase guns that don't have a track record, that can't be traced to them. And those guns are going to be hidden and buried all over the place. And, we might be some of those people. Alex, you and I are going to be the first doors that they knock on.
You're right. They're going to try to make examples of people. Why do you think, for listeners that just joined us, we have the clip, Dianne Feinstein and others are saying, Mr. and Mrs. America, get ready to turn your guns in?
Why do I think she's doing that? I think because she's absolutely clear that she has the backing of the president, and she now has, I would say, 70% of the media firmly behind her. You know, I was actually sitting getting a manicure a few days ago, and there was a lady kind of across from me, somebody I didn't know at all, and she got to talking about the guns and the shooting in Connecticut, and she turned to me and said, well, I just think we should get rid of all the guns. What do you think? Of course, that was a mistake, right? No, I took it very easy on her, and I didn't tell her any of my background or anything. I simply said, well, I've thought about it, and it seems to me that not one single one of these mass shootings has ever occurred where guns were allowed. And she stopped, and she kind of blinked, and she got up, and she went and washed her hands, and then came back and sat down and looked at me, and she said, I never thought about that, but you're right. So I think there are an awful lot of people out there that you can't grab with statistics. You can't grab with logic. I think there are a lot of people out there that you have to put them in a position of being, as close as you can, put them mentally in the position of being completely helpless. And then ask them if they would rather have somebody with them, even if they choose not to have a gun, if they would rather have somebody with them that knows how to use one or not. Even if they won't defend themselves, most people are willing to defend their child. So I do my best to talk about that sort of thing.
I know it's hard for you to talk about it, but you do to save other lives. And I've got to commend you again. As you know, and people can pull up the uniform crime statistics. Since concealed carry became ubiquitous in most states, crime rates on average around 24 to 25%. National, it's only about 20 because of some of the gun-free zones like Chicago and New York. But the Luby's massacre was a mass murder that took place October 16th, 1991 in Killeen, Texas, United States, when George Hennard crashed his pickup truck through the front window, got to ban pickup trucks, on a Luby's cafeteria and shot 50 people, killing 23. Exchanged shots with responding officers and then hid in a bathroom and fatally shot himself. You were there. You lost your parents. I know it's tough to talk about, but we've now seen fathers that lost children in the last few shootings come out and say, don't use this to take people's guns, but the media tries to ignore them. You as a survivor, I mean, you more than anybody have a right to lay out the record. Can you, for people that don't know, describe what happened and what would have happened if you would have had a firearm?
Well, to try to keep it brief for you folks, my parents and I was about 31, I think, at the time, where I just dated myself. My parents and I had gone to a local cafeteria, and we were actually eating with the manager of the cafeteria. The place was packed. It was boss's day. It was the day after payday, middle of the day, beautiful day, and this guy drove his truck through the window. It was a floor-to-ceiling window, and crashed into a number of tables and came to a jerking halt pretty much in the middle of the restaurant. And, of course, you think it's an accident. And we began to rise up to go help the people he had knocked over, and we heard gunshots. I was on the passenger side of the vehicle, and it was maybe 15 feet away from me. My father and I immediately got down on the floor and turned the table up on its side in front of us. My mom was down behind us. And the shooting continued. We realized this was 1991, and these mass shootings weren't occurring back then, so it wasn't the first thing that comes to your mind. We were waiting for him to say something like, all right, everybody put your wallets up on the table, or something like that. But that didn't happen. He just kept shooting. And when he worked his way around the front of the truck and he was working toward us, a full, I'm going to say 45 seconds had passed, and I realized he was just executing people. And it took 45 seconds. Alex, 45 seconds is an eternity. When I did realize it, I reached for my purse that had fallen on the floor next to me. I thought, I've got him. I've got this guy. I used to carry a gun in my purse illegally because an assistant DA out of Houston that was a patient of mine convinced me to carry it illegally. But I did like most people. You know, you think, what are the odds? If I need a gun, it's going to be if I break down on a back road somewhere. It's sure as heck not going to be in a crowded restaurant in the middle of the day. But my gun was 100 yards away in my car where I had begun dutifully leaving it. So long story short, at that point, my dad started to break free from my grip and said, I've got to do something, and I've got to do something. He's going to kill everybody in here. And he made a run at the guy, and the guy just turned and shot my father in the chest. Again, I apologize. I'm trying to make it a short story.
No, it's important. Thank you for sharing it.
The good news with that, my dad was mortally wounded. I mean, he had covered maybe half the distance. He was 7-8 feet from me, but he was still alive. The good thing about that was it made the gunman change directions, and he had to go off to my left instead of continuing directly toward me. Somebody way at the back of the restaurant broke out on one of the windows back there and began to escape through that window. People were able to escape that way. We were kind of up in the front corner and couldn't get out. When I saw what I thought was a chance, the gunman had his back turned toward me. I stood up. I grabbed my mother by the shirt collar. I said, come on, we got to run. We got to get out of here. And my feet grew wings. And to circle it back around, my mom did not follow me out. And I didn't know that until after, literally, I was outside of the restaurant.
She was staying with your dad, wasn't she?
The police officers later told me what happened to her. They said that, and a number of them were patients of mine, and they took me and my family to lunch about a week later and told us. They said that when they got into the front, they saw a woman on her knees cradling a mortally wounded man. And they didn't know who the gunman was. And they saw this 30-something-year-old man walk up to her. They said he put a gun to her head. She looked up at him, put her head down, and he pulled the trigger. And they said all they had to do was fire a shot into the ceiling, and this guy rabbited to a back bathroom alcove area. And as you said, exchanged a little gunfire with him and then put a bullet in his own head. My parents had just had their 47th wedding anniversary a couple of weeks prior to this, and it just didn't occur to me while I was running. Mom wasn't going anywhere without Dad. So I was really angry, Alex. I was really angry. I felt very guilty. I was very angry. I know people think I made this up later, but you can check the newspapers from the second day. I said I was angry at my legislators because they had legislated me out of the right to protect myself and my family. And you can say, well, Susanna, you could have missed. Yeah, I could have. Your gun could have jammed. Well, okay, it's possible. It was a revolver, not likely, but it's possible. But the one thing you can't argue with is it would have changed the odds. I can't begin to tell you how frustrating it is to sit there and wait for it to be your turn and having no means of defending yourself. I can't imagine being in that position again and having my children or my grandchildren with me and having no way of defending them. Makes me physically ill.
Well, we now have countless cases since you went public back in 91, 92, 93, where people have at churches and everywhere else stopped gunmen. Just happened down in San Antonio. It's just happened other places just since the Sandy Hook shooting. And the media will not cover it nationally. And we see these countless local news videos of gunmen coming in trying to shoot people for no reason at shops, and concealed carry folks that know how to use them take them out. And I see the gun grabbers rushing in to try to ban guns right now because they know the gun culture and the self-defense culture is taking over society. All the top-rated TV shows, women out buying guns, liberal women's magazines, show women with guns now. Not because they want guns, the liberal owners, but because they realize women have woken up. They're losing. That's why they're launching this offensive against the Second Amendment. Would you like to elaborate on that statement? Do you agree or disagree?
I agree with you, but I do think that they see an opportunity here because of the Connecticut shooting. It's so hard for any of us to imagine that all those little children being just executed like that. It's just you want a way.
And they put the guilt onto us. Have you ever seen such demonization of gun owners where they say we're Klan, we're Nazis, we helped kill those children when it was a gun-free zone, and the media advertising crazies go to schools and kill people. If anybody has blood on their hands, it's them.
Isn't that the truth? That's something that I've advocated for years, is for teachers to be able to carry. And, of course, here in Texas, individual schools can make that decision. My school does not allow the teachers to carry. But I can tell you that I know a few that carry anyway. They just keep their mouth shut and do it, thank God. The bad guys, I don't know why people don't get this. Bad guys like that want a high body bag count. They're going to go where they think they can shoot as many people as possible without anybody shooting back at them.
Nobody knows these cowards like you. No doubt your father saved your life. Nobody knows these evil people like you. Suzanna Hupp, a survivor of the Luby's massacre, here with us, and really, the grandmother of the concealed carry movement. No doubt, not to use the term grandmother like she's old, but she's the person that really started it. Thank God, and saved countless lives. Why do these cowards always commit suicide as soon as the cops show up? I mean, it just shows they really are ghoulish demons, that they all act exactly the same.
I'm trying to teach my children. I have two boys, 16 and 14. And I think society in general tries to teach people that these bad guys are just misunderstood, or they've had a hard life, or all the various and sundry excuses that you can come up with for them. I've actually literally had people ask me, "Why didn't you try to talk the guy down?" Like, really? I can't even argue with that. It's such a stupid statement.
Yeah, just shot your dad in the chest, and then you're going to go talk to him.
Let me go talk to this guy about his childhood. What I'm trying to teach my children is that there certainly are criminals. I would say the vast majority of criminals in the world that were created. They did have bad childhoods and whatnot. But there's also evil. I honestly believe there is absolute evil that exists in the world.
That's my next point. Have you noticed that with Son of Sam, Ramirez, the Night Stalker, Harrison Klebold, Lanza, and the guy that just shot the firefighters, they were all admitted devil worshippers. Shouldn't we be profiling them?
I did not know that, but I'm not even slightly surprised. Maybe mildly surprised, but not shocked. How about that?
It's incredible.
Evil exists, and I believe that you must do your best to stand between evil and innocent people. And it doesn't mean, again, I want to make this clear because, I'll tell you what one of my biggest fears is, Alex. One of my biggest fears is that I'm going to be in some position that I get shot and killed by a bad guy, and I'm not able to get a round off for some reason. And I'm so afraid that the other side is going to say, see, her gun didn't help her. And I've said it a million times. It's not a guarantee. It changes the odds.
It means you're not a helpless prey animal to be fed upon by devil worshippers and psychopaths.
At least I'm not going to be an easy target. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best to bloody them. They might take me out, but I'm going to do my best to put them in the hospital at the very least. Everybody's going to know who the bad guy is.
Here's the headline, Daily Mail. It's also in AP. I am the devil. Former classmate reveals school gunman had online devil worshipping page as childhood barber recounts how he never spoke and just stared at floors. And that's the shooter of the firefighters with Lanza. It's the same story. So this just goes on and on. So all of them, devil worshippers. Here it is, Satan worship, the Sandy, Hook, on and on and on. Son of Sam, Night Stalker, list goes on and on. It's amazing. In the time we have here, because I know you've got to go, Sam, maybe you can do 5 more minutes with us after the break to talk about your book, which I need to carry at the InfoWars online bookstore because I know it's so important. We all need to reach out to the dumbed-down people that really think turning their guns in is going to protect them. But looking at Dianne Feinstein, have you seen the testimony in Congress where she admits she has a concealed carry but doesn't want you to be able?
I have seen written quotes from it, but I have not actually seen it, no.
It's amazing, though. I mean, how can they all have bodyguards and she can be worth $100 billion, but then we're not supposed to have guns?
I remember being on CNN or one of those shows when Rosie O'Donnell, there had been some incident with one of her adopted children, and a bodyguard protected the child. And I went on the air and said, she must be horribly feel awfully silly at the moment because she's telling all of us to disarm, and most of us don't have her kind of money that we can hire personal bodyguards for our kids. And she must be terribly embarrassed. But I feel that way pretty much about Feinstein and most of them. It's just an elitist attitude. It's okay for me, but it's not for you because I don't trust you.
Well, if you notice, I've even got Christian Science Monitor admitting, I have an article that our government's trying to restrict free speech online and going the way of China. I've got an article after you leave us we're going to go over where top Georgetown professors saying, yeah, go ahead and kill old people, death panels. I mean, they're not just going after the Second Amendment. Do you see it as a big canary in the coal mine that they are this open and brazen right now?
Here's what I really think, Alex. I don't think Obama is the problem. I don't think Feinstein is the problem. I honestly believe that our public education system is the problem. Because those are the people that are growing up to run for office that think socialism and Marxism is a good thing. They're the ones that grow up and vote for the Obamas and the Feinstein. So I truly believe, you and I tend to attack this, and a lot of partisans tend to attack this at the top. Well, we have to get so-and-so out of office or into office. And I really hold that the problem is down in the school system.
Have we crossed the Rubicon of becoming a collectivist society where they've got so many people domesticated? They're like squirrels you feed in your backyard. After a while, they don't know how to go out and get their own food. Yes.
Yeah, I was talking about this last night on the radio show, in fact, on the one that I was filling in on in Austin. Yes, I unfortunately, I think we have hit the tipping point. I think that's evidenced in this last presidential run. I just think there are now more. We're a little bit sheltered here in Texas because Texas is still a pretty Republican conservative.
I tell you what, I know you got to go, but we're going to go to break. Come back and do 5 more minutes with us, and then we'll let you get back to work because I want to finish up with the tipping point solutions and your book because there are ways to beat this, but it's just like in Poland, it's called noncompliance. We've got to do everything we can before this becomes a shooting war. We'll be right back with Suzanna Hupp. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live, and we're finishing up with an interview we're doing with Representative Suzanna Hupp, former representative, survivor of the Luby's massacre. Her book is From Luby's to the Legislature, very highly rated at Amazon in the reviews, and is really good for people out there who don't understand what's going on. We either reach out to the domesticated Obamanoids or it's over. And the collectivists are very arrogant. You know, she just said people in Texas or other more constitutional areas where the economy, by the way, is still operating because we're not socialist completely, are in a bubble. We think, oh, they'll never have government-run health care. They'll never make us pay for abortions. They'll never take over the Catholic Church and make them pay for abortions. It's all happening. They'll never do this. They'll never do that. Really, they've done this in every other country. They're following a model. And there are powerful corporate interests that want monopolies. They want a quasi-socialist system with a fascist system on top of it. And there's also some hoaxing going on where they say this is a mandate for socialism because Obama won again. No, they ran a neocon, socialist, Obamacare writing Mitt Romney. So the fix is in is the problem. Representative, I wanted to talk about your book some, but first, solutions. If we have reached the tipping point of domestication, we know the solution is wait till it rots and collapses like the Soviet Union. Well, that's going to be authoritarianism. I don't want to be sent to the Gulag Archipelago. How do we short-circuit it before it gets really, really bad?
Well, you're not going to like my answer. I guess my answer is two-pronged. Number one, we truly, truly need to get into these school systems and begin to reteach what made America great. Because they're not teaching it now. They're teaching that socialism and Marxism is good.
What do you mean I don't like your answer? Absolutely. And look, the government's taken over. It's time for us to do what the socialists did. I think people should infiltrate government and do whatever you have to get in there to report on these people and sabotage these people.
Yes, that's very well put. Well, I said that you wouldn't like it because, unfortunately, it's not a glamorous answer, and it's a slow task to make changes in the school system. The second thing that you do brilliantly is teach people to be prepared. And it used to be only us crazies that would stockpile food or stockpile water or ammunition or whatever. But now they actually have television shows about it. It's not just crazies. It's not just people that are missing for their front teeth.
But our grandparents all did that. It's normal. All mammals store some food. Even grasshoppers do it, and they're insects. You're crazy to just live day to day in some supermax prison-style grid. Let me ask you this, and then we'll talk about the book and let you go, and hopefully get you back soon. I have a clip in my film, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, and in it, it's you talking to the head of the Psychiatry Association, and you say, why are 67% at that time of foster kids on psychotropics? And you were heading up the committee, and there was a big investigation. And he says, oh, they come from bad gene pools. Well, A, that's what Hitler said. B, they don't even do blood tests, quote, gene pools. No, they grab kids from their parents and then drug them, as doctors have said. What do you make of that? That's not liberal drugging kids. That's evil.
Yes, and in many, many, many cases, those children were on more than 3 psychotropic drugs. And many of them weren't even okayed for children of the age that they were giving them to. I'm deeply concerned with the drug culture, and I don't want to badmouth all drugs. Look, I just got off a run of antibiotics for a sinus infection. There are good drugs out there. The problem is, this is one of the things that can be tricky in a free society. We do have these enormous drug companies that push this stuff and actually get it wrapped into the government system to where the doctors that are working on the foster kids, for instance, have to follow a particular protocol, in what drugs they use. They can't deviate from that protocol. So it's very interconnected and very difficult to unravel, quite frankly.
Well, that's right. In the public schools, it turns out, get more federal funding, the more kids are, quote, special need on the drugs. In fact, the WOAI investigation that spurred the state investigation, if you remember, found that the national average was 67% of foster children are on psychotropics, and the average child was on 7 drugs
Yes.
7 drugs. So
yeah, which is crazy. I mean, that in and of itself is crazy. And that there is absolutely, my husband is a neuropsychologist, so I would go to him and use him for information on a regular basis. And you're right. Unfortunately, there is a financial benefit to not only the school system, but the parents. There was a kind of a negative, basically they would go in, and a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them would go in and say, well, this kid's creating a lot of problems for me. He really needs to be on medication. Somebody would put him on medication, and the foster family would get more money per day because of it.
And then the medication makes them worse, so the answer is not get them off drugs, get them on more. They're eating Twinkies, they're drinking Cokes with caffeine, they're eating, I mean, my children, if they get red dye or something in a candy, you know, on vacation, we let them eat it or something, or
nuts, don't they?
They go crazy. And then it turns out those dyes have a drug effect. The kids are bouncing off the walls because they should be eating steak and potatoes and broccoli and exercising all day. Instead, I mean, if I drank Cokes and ate Twinkies, when I come down off of it, I've done it a few times, I want to beat the hell out of people. I mean, no wonder the
young boys. Particularly young boys. Instead of, well, I mean, it used to amaze me to watch the teachers. They were taught to give the little boys time out. Instead of what they should be doing is telling them to go outside and run around the school 5 times.
Well, you know, public schools first got rid of dodgeball. Now most of them have banned running. So I mean, of course, young mammals, I mean, that'd be like drugging a puppy because it runs around and chews on the other puppy.
Yeah.
I mean, baby mammals all act the same. Ma'am, you're amazing. Thank you for your time, and thank you for getting your testimony out there that the answer is more guns, less crime. Tell us briefly about your book.
I wrote that book for the average person to read and be able to make the arguments with their neighbors and friends. It's also a great book to pass on. You know who I really wrote that book for? I wrote that book for housewives that just aren't sure how they feel about guns. You know, they're not into going out and blasting Bambi, and they're just uncomfortable with things that go make a loud bang. And I understand that. I completely understand that. And I'm a mother, and I've been there. I understand. I'm not into going out and blasting Bambi either. But it's a quick, easy read, and it's for those people.
Absolutely. Well, you know, you've got 2 sons. I've got 2 daughters and a son, and I love them like life itself or more. But it is really a good feeling now that my 8-year-old is shooting and hitting bullseye at 50 yards. Oh, we haven't trained the 4-year-old yet. And it's such a good feeling that my girls are tough. Sometimes they punch me when we're playing, and it really hurts. And that they're not putting up with anybody trying to rape them or attack them. And that I'm going to defend the Second Amendment, so when they go off to college or when they get married and they live, some guy busts into their apartment or into their house to try to beat them up or rape them, they're dead. And that's real empowerment. And it's not feminism, it's survival. It's basic common sense. And as I said, our culture of liberty, the women's magazines, the Austin Chronicle's been having articles about women shooting, not because the socialist anti-American Chronicle, run by a horrible guy who I know, wants to do that. They're being forced to do that if people are going to pick up their magazines. And our culture of liberty and self-empowerment is growing, and so that's why the empire is striking back. And your book breaks that down, and I hope everybody gets it and gives it to women who are anti-gun in their family or who are on the fence.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, have a great week coming up, and I always enjoy getting to hear you on 590 AM when you're filling in. God bless.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
You too. There goes former Representative Suzanna Hupp, survivor of the Luby's massacre. We're going to get her back on in a few months. Maybe even sometime have her come in and fill in. She lives near Austin. She does that for our local affiliate. Just an amazing lady. Boy, I tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, I said that I would get into Agenda 21 because I was really brainstorming on it last night and this morning, and how it ties into things, what the Obamacare means, what the death panels mean, what life is really going to be like. Because I always mention this or that or say I'm going to break it down, and I've done some special reports, but then I get an hour and 43 minutes into this, and I'm not so much exhausted as that it's a feeling of I can't do this justice. I can't do this justice. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to your calls until 8 after next hour, 7 after, and then I'll cover this for a segment and continue with your calls, part of my New Year's resolution. And I want the crew in there because I don't have a, quote, producer that tells me what to do. I kind of have radio bookers and a great crew that runs the TV and does research. But I need you guys to, to make me that when I say I'm taking calls, get to them quick, cycle through them, because it brings up a lot of really important angles and issues. And I like taking calls. Whenever I'm listening to a rebroadcast, I'm like, I wish you'd take calls, Alex. But again, it's just that I've got so much information I want to get to you. Agenda 21 is taking civilization and militarizing it against the people. And it is the strangulation of humanity. It is the scientific exterminism, an ultra-Hitlerian, incremental, scientifically controlled kill grid. And I'm going to attempt to really talk about it and give you some examples and tell you where it's going. And remember, I told you, 15 years ago, the printer ink was tracking everything you do. And putting, where you bought the printer, what you did, a whole record of it on there. I told you that 10 years ago, smart meters were going in that would control your temperature and track everything you do and be later used to charge you more. And interface with all your appliances that all have spy tech being built into them. Now it's mainstream news because it's ubiquitous. See, they always say, oh, that's crazy, counting on you being ignorant when it's first going in, because they don't want you to resist it at that point. But once it's ubiquitous, they go, yeah, we are listening to you with the NSA, all of you. Yeah, the NSA is tracking everything you do. Yeah, we are reading what you say. You know what? The post office is opening some of your letters. You know what? Yeah, okay, well, the government apologizes for shooting kids up in Guatemala with live syphilis. We're sorry, but we're going to keep doing it. I mean, I sit here looking at all the admissions. These are not my opinions. And then I go study. Oh, let me see who that bank chairman is. Let's go see if he gives money to eugenics organizations. You go look it up. Population reduction funds and Nature Conservancy and Sierra Club and all these anti-human groups that claim they care about the earth. And it's always the same. There's only a few thousand of them. And they're all into the same thing. All of them. I can randomly pick some globalist calling for gun control and go find out they're calling for the end of the First Amendment authoritarianism. I mean, these are monsters who have a mesmerized population watching television all day. The television and the false culture is like a black hole destroying the real world. It's sucking it in and wrecking minds. And there are people that really think the television's their friends. They're imaginary friends on their favorite show. And they sit there and basically talk to the television, and they get sad when they give them the Q2 about the dead kids at Sandy Hook, but not sad when somebody protests and jumps up during a meeting about thousands of dead kids from military strikes. And they're just programmable biological androids. That's what the globalists call you. They call you human resources programmables. And I'm not a programmable. Let me tell you something. You psychopaths are the most programmable. You sit there and look at regular folks who are weak-minded and childlike because you got them when they were babies in front of the television, and you think you're powerful because you're socially engineering people with subliminals and all the rest of it. I've studied psychopaths and their servant sociopaths and their mercenaries and their, the different classes that serve them, different criminal classes that serve darkness because they get to engage in their particular poison. You guys are totally obsessive-compulsive, if you want to use that limited term. Doesn't fully describe it, but it's a term people can get. It's similar to that. You guys are ritualistic. You guys aren't alive. You're not really creating. You're twisting. You are not creating literature, music. You are not creating art. You are not creating beauty. You are not. You guys are missing out. And a lot of you, it is from inbreeding and things. There is such a thing as genetic psychopaths. Most of them are genetic. Royalty takes really aggressive, generally psychopaths are very manipulative dominance and breeds them into psychopaths. And that's why you get these robotic classes that are just ready to do anything. And they always like the same thing: black uniforms, burning cities, torturing children. They all do it through. I mean, you've studied history. Any of you? Every culture. Black uniforms, burning children on fires, mass death. Because good people don't have the sheepdog instinct to get in there and deal with these people. And by the way, we're a lot stronger and more inventive and powerful. And by the way, we have levers that we don't enjoy crushing, we don't enjoy killing, but we can do it a lot better than they can. That's the thing. A lot of people get into evil because they feel weak. They're not really psychopaths or sociopaths. They get into evil believing it will give them power. And then by example and modeling, they're able to do outrageous things, which is kind of like building their self-confidence. Why don't you just go take a Toastmasters, and I've never taken one of those, but I've read about them, course or something if you want to be confident, instead of like going out and, doing evil things. And those of us, see, evil people only have what they call evil. And they do bad things and hurtful things for the power and the enjoyment. It is not, see, the Bible says thou shalt not murder, and it's mistranslated as kill, because the whole Bible's about go out and defend yourself, go out and kill the enemy that's attacking you. It's murder, premeditated, an innocent. Knocking somebody on the head who's walking through the path, who's got a bag of food you want 3,000 years ago. That's murder. But to kill, to defend yourself is what God demands. Because if you don't, the wolves take over when you act like a sheep. So I'll come back, take a few calls in the next two segments, then get into Agenda 21. But you need to understand, folks, that you have innate power. You have an entire electrochemical software system and all the instincts, and it's been proven scientifically, the racial memories that are more just like essence data. It's not like an actual exact memory. You have all of this. You only have to access it. You're not accessing your programming. I mean, you ask God, the universe, whatever you believe it is, to help you be someone who stands up for good. You're also asking your subconscious to activate. See, and then once you open the door, God can spiritually energize you, because you are a biological android with a spirit. This is an earth suit, but you've got to open the door and say, okay, programming activated, and then ask the creator of the universe, because God's for free will. You've got to say, I'm ready. You understand? Give me the knowledge, please, for good. I'm ready. I'm ready. By the way, the petition to deport Piers Morgan has reached 114,000 right now. In fact, we can probably punch that up on screen for viewers. It's also linked up at thedrudgereport.com, or at least it was. So now it's 100,139 since we printed this off a few minutes ago. Another 100 or so signatures. By the way, just to be clear, because my own crew thought this, they're all like, we didn't see you on Piers Morgan last night. I told the crew, I said, when Piers Morgan comes back from vacation, I'm supposedly on his show the 7th. But I said, don't hold your breath. And I said that on air as well, so people may not have heard that right on air. It's the 7th I'm on there, and I bet they chicken out. I really could care less. It's not that big of an audience. But it would be an internet hit to go in there and skewer him and hear him call me a pathetic person and stuff. That's just ridiculous. Let's go ahead and go to John in New Hampshire. Welcome, sir. Thanks for holding.
Okay, Alex, Info Warrior from New Hampshire. I listened to you from the start when you started, and I know you made a lot of good points with me. How I'm a former law enforcement official, and now I'm a selectman in New Hampshire, and the thing that got to me was we have to take back all these local, town, and city positions and take back our government. So I ran for selectman. I was elected, and they tried to sneak in that UN Agenda 21 into our town with a grant and all these promises. And I had been enlightened from your show, and then when it came up, I questioned it, and actually when I brought up anything with the word UN Agenda 21, they thought I was crazy. But when it came down to the vote, it was a split vote, and my vote was the deciding vote. And
by the way, that's all an act. They now say we're insane. Israeli citizens can't own guns, and teachers aren't armed. It's a known fact they are. They just go, oh, no, because we'd win the debate that Israel ended its school shootings by arming the teachers. So they go, oh, instead of debating us on that, they go, oh, no, Israel doesn't have guns. So it's the same thing. They put out talking point manuals. It's even come out in the New York Times on how to deal with you, to act like it doesn't exist. that laughing at you and all that is part of the mind game. But again, you kept getting the word out, and all these master zoning things are authoritarian. They're designed for any town. China and India and Mexico don't have these rules. The globalists all run those countries. It's forcing all our industry out. It's a takeover. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish your point.
So it came down to a split vote, and I was the deciding vote, and I shut it down. So and you would have thought I was Jack the Ripper, but I felt great that day, and I told them they're not going to get it back as long as I'm on the selectmen's board. So
did I hear you right that you were a police officer, now you've run and gotten into the selectmen or city council? What a beautiful story. And patriots, now I'm never a person for deception. I think you should be honest that you're a libertarian or constitutionalist or whatever you call yourself, a liberty lover. But I think it's good to get in. See, they infiltrated us by acting like they were just liberals when they're really authoritarians. I think it's important to get our people in, acting like we're not that threatening to get in, and then it's a lot easier to stay in. What's your take on that?
That's exactly what I did when I was first in town. Some of the leftist organizations invited me to state who I was and what I had in mind, and I just yesed them to death and let them believe I was a good person, which I am. And then when the key votes came in town, we got a constitutional chief of police, and we just put in a great town administrator, and I'm sure that...
That's it, exactly. And again, most of the mainline liberals are well-meaning. They're just helpless fools. But again, exactly. And then once you get in, you can educate them. We've got to use the enemy's tactics. To quantify what I was just saying, I don't mean use all their tactics, but you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. I would have never gotten into Bohemian Grove if when I was questioned by the feds and others, I didn't say, oh, I'm with hillbillies. And technically that's the name of one of the clubs inside the Grove, and I guess I am kind of a hillbilly. Got a bunch of East Texas blood. I mean, that's pretty hillbilly. But the point is, it's all semantical, because this is a foreign occupying globalist force. I think running for office and being open about the New World Order is a great way to do it as well, just to educate people. But knowing when to hold them, knowing when to fold them, when you're really trying to get in and defeat the enemy, it's a complex issue. Let's go to Brian in New Mexico. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Thank you, Alex, for taking my call. And first of all, I want to wish you a Happy New Year for you.
You too, brother. God bless you.
My biggest concern, I think, is with the media. There's a lot of evil and crookedness, people, with their backroom deals and such. But the media, who knows it and perpetuates it and misguides people, I think, is a key problem that we're facing. Not even the technical brainwave changing patterns of TV and such. All the advertisements are there to make you feel fragmented, broken, weak. And if we don't use the right toothpaste, we're not going to be able to do whatever, we want to do. We are incredibly powerful beings. And yes, we are being drugged and manipulated in order that we don't tap into our greatness and our power. But even in the most drugged down, mentally deficient person, there is a spark that the globalists, I think that's what they're ultimately afraid of, is a few thousand people have taken control over the whole population of this planet. And they do it subconsciously. They can't physically control us, at least not yet, so they do everything they can to make us feel, like we're worthless, but we are incredible beings. This last year, I've been producing a television show, public access TV show here in Albuquerque, and through backroom deals with the corrupt mayor and the city council, basically they gave control to a for-profit group that is now censoring all live things, and they're not allowing any controversial topics. So I'm basically out of a viewpoint or an outlet to express my viewpoint, but still just talking to people day to day. You never know how just the simplest conversation will have huge ripples. Going back to the dog or the gun thing, I was at the dog park, and some guy was saying, well, we don't need guns. He's going, you don't need that to hunt deer. I said, first of all, you don't have a gun, or you would know that you can't hunt deer with that. You can't get an automatic weapon. But they're in this mindset of what they see on television. And really, I think the biggest thing that people need to do is get rid of their television, or if they do watch it for research or whatever, know that, you know, how they're being manipulated, and really spend more time with your kids, talk radio, just more real-life things is what I think this population
Yeah, that's why they
really
hate talk
needs.
radio, is that it's not scripted, especially shows like this, but even mainline talk radio is not scripted compared to mainline globalist type propaganda. But all over the country, they're trying to shut down Access TV. People should use it while it's still there. People should defend it. They tried hard to keep me off of it. It's a great way to reach locals and organize things. But there's other ways. Most AM and FM stations are begging for people that want to come in and do an hour or two on the weekend. So do a YouTube channel first to show that you can talk. And then use that to say, hey, here's my local internet show. I do local news. And volunteer to come in and say, and I'll try to get sponsors. And then you can be a salesman as well, just on spec. And most stations, if you're well-spoken at all, will give you a weekend show. And then you're reaching a lot of people. Then you start telling folks about your show. You get them tuning in. Then there's a buzz. Pretty soon you're filling in for the weekday show. Pretty soon you got your own weekday show. Pretty soon you're syndicated. Pretty soon. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to break down just a snapshot of the premeditated evil that is Agenda 21 implemented. And then we'll go to your phone calls continuing on this live first day of January 2013 transmission. But I want to read a quote here of Oliver Wendell Holmes, a Supreme Court justice. Taxes are the price we pay for civilization. And that is what the collectivist will always put in your face when you come out and point out that we are having our basic liberties and freedoms eradicated. Here is another headline. Georgetown law professor scrap archaic, idiosyncratic, and downright evil, those are quotes, Constitution. And that is a top Georgetown law professor in the New York Times saying that. Louis Michael Seidman, and of course, a big Obama supporter. We have other articles up at Infowars.com that are just snapshots into how all of this works. Here's one by Kurt Nimmo. Democratic operatives crank up death panel talk following Obama win and put out their twisted graphs showing how much U.S. healthcare costs versus other countries. And when you go read the article by George Soros operative at Slate, their headline is The Case for Death Panels. You hear the same talking point, the case for killing Granny. And of course, we have the clip as well from people out there like the host of the HBO show, Bill Maher, where he says more death is what we need. Get rid of more people. But then he says, turn your guns in for the poor 20 dead children. They can selectively turn it on and selectively turn it off. This is all Agenda 21. Let me explain how collectivism has worked in every country and why the true robber baron elites in the last 150 years or so have put their full weight behind it. A, it makes people dependent. B, the globalists always exempt themselves internationally from the laws they put on people in subsectors. What national sovereignty they allow to continue, they play off against the other nation states. And in the White House Science Czar's book, Ecoscience, you can read it online, it's free, close to 1,000 pages long. And in all of their other publications, they openly talk about how they're going to set up a government control system to make you dependent on government and to, quote, have a police state like China. That's Dr. Pianka at UT, who calls for 90% of us to be exterminated by an airborne release of weaponized airborne Ebola. They all say the same thing. In fact, guys, I don't see it over there on the bookshelf. Ecoscience is a big, giant white book. It's always been over there. You guys go see if it's there. I think Aaron's here today. If not, go back and get it. Because the reason I'm staring is I'm wondering, where's my book? It's always been over there. You guys can walk in front of the cameras. I don't care. I just don't see it. Very hard to get a physical copy of that nowadays. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, is this is a fact we're talking about. And Agenda 21 has to be dealt with because it is a system of turning off the society. What do you do when the civilization and the government is a purely predatory group? And that's the norm throughout history, who have taken tyranny and codified it into a political system where they, with scientific expertise through insurance models and other systems, go after you and even actuary out the implosion of the society in orchestrated systems. Thank you. They found it. It was under my desk. We did a video breakdown on this with Webster Tarpley, where he called the views in this book ultra-Hitlerian, titled, What the Elite's Master Plan for Global Extermination. It's free online. It's an emergency SOS to everyone. And here's the problem. We have over 100 books. We ought to do a review of these books sometime over an hour, just reading quotes, where it's all the same thing, basically plagiarized and repeated over and over again. I don't know who plagiarized who, but sometimes it's word for word. I mean, it's kind of like the Bible. There's 100 different versions, but a lot of it's pretty much the same. I mean, it's amazing. And they set themselves up as the saviors of the world in the name of tyranny. They're the saviors of the world, and now they're going to kill you. They're going to dumb you down. They're going to cut off your resources, when really it's the parasitic establishment saying, oh, France will now go without lights at night because everything's collapsing. Oh, they're going to turn the lights off in Australia at night. Oh, major cities in the U.S. aren't going to have lights, and your smart meters are going to charge you more during the day for electricity. And then you go read their own books. They say, we use too much energy. We need to make people more frugal. It's altruistic to be poor. It's beautiful to live under austerity. You go to Whole Foods and half the magazines say it, how sexy it is to be poor. And it's not being sold to make you get back to the earth and actually be self-sufficient. That's one thing. No, it's the opposite. They put everything in to make you where you can't be self-sufficient, but then come and cut your resources off and then say you're going to work even harder in a 250 square foot apartment with your whole family to where you can't take care of yourself even though you have 2 jobs. So you get a supplemental government card with big robotic farming and manufacturing operations with robots giving you goods you need to survive. This is the plan, so that you're forced to take inoculations. And I mean, they say in all their publications that they're going to put all of us that don't take the shots and don't do this in ghettos. And then, just like Malthus wrote 200 and something years ago, they're going to pump pathogens in to kill us in the ghettos. They say, well, we're going to put you in ghettos if you won't go along with all this. And then there's going to be some outbreaks. And then you actually read deeper. They go, we're going to release it on you. I mean, this is a nightmare where they're hunting us. And that's what happens in corrupt psychopathic civilizations, is that corrupt elites get into control who are ruthless, and they make a sport and a game out of incrementally shutting down the society. But they take their time because they enjoy their work, but also so that you never struggle out of the net. And they're openly now saying, if the IRS, run by foreign banks, says you haven't paid your taxes, no judge, no jury, no due process, your car's not going to start. All the new cars with kill switches built into them electronically. It's basically a cell phone component. All the new cars. Not just the black boxes in them, but other kill switches. That's on record. All printers. They have a record of when you bought it, who you were. They just turn them off. Your printer will turn off. Your computer will stop working. You're going to be face scanned off the cameras. The computer won't turn on unless the camera is uncovered and unless the face scan authenticates when you turn it on. If you try to go to the store to buy food, even with cash will still be there. It's just the face scan instant. This is already going in everywhere, by the way. Told you this 15 years ago because MIT said it was the Pentagon plan for total control. Now it's in. Remember, oh, that'll never happen. That's fear-mongering. Face scanning to go to college. Forced inoculations to go to college. No law, they just make you do it. They say it's policy. Total control. And then lots of mindless entertainment and peer pressure, dumbing people down while your neighbors are dying of cancer and your kids brain damage from shots, and you've got all these health problems even though you supposedly eat healthy and exercise all the time, and everybody's got asthma and allergies, and the cancer rate's gone up almost 3,000% for adults. It goes up 10,000% like it already is for kids, and nobody asks why it's happening. And they all talk about how they're going to kill us with the cancer and how they put the stuff in the water. And you sit here and read stuff they wrote in the 70s, and it's happening now, and you're like, hey, you go up to the cops and say, hey, don't you want to fight the New World Order? They're like, hey, I got a uniform. I feel powerful. I'm like, do you have any kids at home that are retarded? Well, yeah, actually I do. Do you know they did that to you, chances are? I really don't care. See, it's learning how to love your own destruction. So
You know what happens to your digestive health around the holidays?
A lot of people see videos produced in partnership with the British government, the UK government, or Plandopolis. And it's where everybody lives in the ghettos that won't accept total control. Everybody else is controlled by central computers. Nobody's allowed to have cars but the elites. And people would see these videos and think it was a joke. But this is what they really plan. And when you've got over 100 books written by top globalists talking about how they're soft killing us, and talking about how once they get us in the compact cities, they can then wipe out the third world. The people in the compact cities will then beg the government to give them even more control. And then they're planning to wipe out the people in the mega cities. And they sit there and they brag about all this, and you're sitting there reading psychopaths telling you what they're going to do, in many cases not even veiled. And then you go out to the public and you go, hey, Europe's got death panels, and people go, oh, that doesn't exist. I heard you're a liar. You're like, no, let me show you a video clip, or let me show you their own book. No, I don't believe that crazy. Now that they get health care in, government health care, they're like, yeah, of course there's death panels. And here's how the trap of collectivism works to get you into this system, okay? I was just looking at Plandopolis, where the government decides the route of where you're going to go. To allow you to leave your house, you have to get the computer to authorize it, that it's been approved. I mean, this is how totally sick these people are. And again, they think you're so rudderless now that they put out classic authoritarianism with a high-tech icing as if it's a good thing. But here's how collectivism works. They say, okay, everybody pays for everybody else's health care now. So health care costs are too high because when you put government money into something, it drives up the price. And so we're going to say what you can eat and how much you've got to exercise, and, that you can only eat meat once a year, which they're openly announcing under the UN World Food Council. I'm showing their UN video right now on screen for TV viewers. I mean, you cannot make this up. It's just unbelievable, folks, to see how dumbed down the public is. They have no idea how much trouble they're in. They're already jacking the food, the water, everything, and bragging about it. And the trap works that once they say, well, things are collectivized, well, I'm paying for it, so I say how much you're going to weigh. And they use an example of a 700-pound woman on welfare and say there ought to be rules. But then you find the rules say 860 calories for breakfast and lunch, and then another 500 for dinner, which is basically starvation level. And if you're 1% above their fat index, the state takes your kids. I mean, you read what they're going to push, it's unbelievable. And parents can't pack school lunches, and that's already rolling out. I mean, just 3 years ago, I was reporting on them not letting people pack their own lunches in Chicago and other areas. People didn't believe me, and now it's going in everywhere. I remember 15 years ago reporting on them banning dodgeball. People didn't believe it. Now schools everywhere don't even let you run at recess. It's total prison control. And so now, and I've got articles breaking this down, they come out in all these George Soros connected outfits like Slate and have their operatives, in this one case, say the case for death panels in one chart. You guys punch this up on screen. And it shows a skewed and manipulated chart to begin with because they're showing end-of-life care, specifically, not overall health care, percentage of GDP. And they don't have family in health care. They haven't researched it. They don't know they're here deceiving people. And it's the same line Bill Gates puts out that we'll play after the break where he says, you know, kill granny, hire 10 teachers. They don't explain to you that the insurance companies owned by foreign banks have set this up, that when you've got insurance, it's 3 to 4 to 5 times more than if you didn't have insurance, depending on the hospital. Sometimes if you don't, it's 3 or 4 or 5 times more. You see, it's all a scam. I had a friend's mom get bit by a rattlesnake on Town Lake here in Austin, on the edge of Town Lake. And because they had top-of-the-line insurance and because they knew that they were wealthy, they charged them $300,000. They negotiated it down to, I think they said $170,000 for, and she went to the hospital, didn't have a problem, gave them antivenom that cost like $50. But because they didn't negotiate it, they tried to charge them $300,000 because they had top-of-the-line insurance and were worth, you know, just buku money. That's how this stuff operates. I have insurance. My finger's cut off. I go to the hospital. Illegal aliens are going in front of me for an hour. No insurance, no nothing, not even checking their names. You're God, you're God, you're God. You're here to bankrupt the system. You want to come and have a free baby? Boom, it's paid for. But citizens, you can't get health care even when you have the insurance. And that's how it is in England. I've watched the C-SPAN debates in British Parliament where you wait 18 months for an operable brain tumor that isn't operable in 1 year. Stay with us. So you've got these poor people out there, U.S. citizens. They can be Hispanic, black, white, you name it. They don't know under the Hippocratic Oath and the entire history of Western medicine that a third of the health care a doctor provides as an honorable profession was to be free. Free. And then the wealthy were supposed to give endowment and money to tax-free hospitals. This is just a window into Agenda 21. The Rockefellers by the 20s start taking over medicine. They are the biggest owners and controllers in their tax-free foundations of the charity hospitals. They don't tell you it's a charity hospital when you go in it. So they're tax exempt, but they run a money-making operation. And, you know, we had a crew member, he was a contractor for me 6-7 years ago, probably going to die of Crohn's disease. He'd been kicked off insurance, couldn't even get it. And I had to argue with him. I said, I know you've been to 10 hospitals, 15 doctors, you're losing weight. They're saying that, basically go home and you maybe die. I said, listen, I know that you have to go in and explain and show them your financials that you can't get insurance. And there's charity care. He said, I don't believe you. I've gone in and told them this and they tell me it doesn't exist. And I said, listen, you got to keep doing it. And I was just talking to CJ out there about years ago. He looked into this to help somebody he knew for charity care with dental stuff. And by the way, my dad manages 18 dental offices. Okay, I happen to know about this. And now these big conglomerates tell the dentist, don't tell people about this. They don't do the Hippocratic Oath anymore for about 20 years. Do no harm, Hippocrates. So under Obamacare, they're getting rid of charity care. And they're making everybody go buy insurance, even if you can't afford it. And now it's going to double the premiums this year. That's Bloomberg and AP reporting that. And then it lets the government control what health care you get through the death panels. And they use an example of an old lady who's going to get $1 million of care, and that's all jacked up and a bad example, a cherry-picked example, to say you're going to lose your job as a teacher now because she's going to get health care. Well, see, next, you're going to lose your job if we give this 65-year-old person an eye surgery. And it's all this idea of the pie is one size. Because the globalists say within just 10 years, they already have this, they'll have robot machines that for $100 can sit there and give you an eye surgery to correct your vision. Life extension is going to be totally cheap. They've got to bring us back into a dark age for the general population, except for what they call mega city or city-state reservations, high-tech reservations. This is now being announced. People are like, how did you know this, 15 years ago? They wrote books about it, nonfiction. It's all planned. I don't know how else to explain this to you. And you've got these fools waddling around going, I want my Obama phone. I want my free health care. And I was just talking to CJ about how, he found in Austin, the only places that advertised charity care were in Spanish, and they're getting endowment money, they're getting government grants, taxpayer money. It's not supposed to run like that. You got a hospital that has regular care, regular prices. They look at how much you make, and it goes on a scale. And then the doctors, like Ron Paul did for a decade, he would go 2 nights a week and work at the poor hospital for $2 a night. And that was customary because that would pay for your food and gas. Because he was a real servant. He got into it under the Hippocratic Oath that you were taught as a physician. You're doing this to serve people, the highest calling. To wash people's feet. It was Christian, ladies and gentlemen. It was Christian. The first hospitals were the Hospitalers. Christian sect. Before, just go die. Or go to the local medicine woman. And so that's the issue, is that you are meant to provide the care. You are meant to, let's say if you're having to get people crowns and stuff, you're supposed to call up companies and go, we'll give you all our business for crowns, but are you going to provide us a certain percentage of free stuff so we can give it to the poor? See, used to, everybody just did that, understanding it's what you had to do. Now that's all gone. Churches are gone. They're now 501c3. It's all gone. So again, they come out and say, taxes are what you pay to have a civilization. That's actually not true. Local taxes are what you do. You locally agree on some taxes. If there's a big problem, a special problem, or hey, we want to build dikes to expand our shipping area, like the Dutch, and then locally you vote and you pay to do it. And then those jobs get paid locally to merchants and for people to expand the building of it. But globalism is everything to these development zones. I mean, they all wrote books about it. Rollerball, James Caan in the 70s is a fiction movie about this, where you've got energy city, manufacturing city, computer city, military city. All corporate cities run by the same guys, where the corporate super elite land in these jet copters and they want the top rollerball world champion's wife. And why? Because they're jealous of him, and it's an exercise of power. Because this actually happened in Rome and other cultures. They would come to the top, sports heroes, you name it, and say, I want your wife. And you had to give it to them. Folks, this stuff happens over and over and over again. What prima noctu, where they would, in the Middle Ages, come and demand your wife on the wedding night. This stuff has happened. That's what the TSA down your pants, all of it is an exact historical blueprint with a high-tech overlay. And so they get you into the cities, they do all this, and look at this commenter in our article, Democrats crank up death panel talk following Obama win. And I'm going to play this clip here in a minute, but look at this commenter. He was commenter number 30. Printed this morning. It's a lot more comments now. I have to agree with Bill Gates on this one. The American people cannot afford to spend $1 million to keep a terminally ill patient alive in their later years. Someone who is 80 years old has lived a long life. And they also say kill babies up to age 3 now. We cannot print money forever, and music will stop sometimes. The analogy of laying off teachers is a good one, because we need to focus on the children, which are the only hope that we have for the future. Man, that is a classic eugenics statement. That is Carousel, Logan's Run. My mother's in that movie, by the way. The point is that, they were doing she never tried to be in a movie. One of her friends was going to be in Logan's Run, and she's in it a couple times. I'll find those clips and play. It's pretty interesting. The point is that when you hit 30, they kill you. They send you up in a gladiatorial event, and a laser beam blows you to bits. All these things are in your face. Zardoz, where there's an elite that lives forever with high technology, and they have compact megacities where they then send out hunter-killer drones to go out and kill the wild humans so their populations don't go up too high. Oh, I think you heard of that. It's called Hunger Games. They're throwing it in your face over and over again, and it all has been written about 200 years ago by Malthus, picked up 160 years ago by Galton, put out 100 years ago by H.G. Wells, who wrote scores of nonfiction books. I happen to have read them. In the movie Things to Come that came out, what, in the 30s? Will you guys find Things to Come? They've got B-2 bombers, Batwing bombers of the world government flying around, blowing up the holdout nation states and attacking gun owners. And it's clearly American gun owners in the, being killed in the book and the movie. When do you write Things to Come? In the 30s? Like in 1901, he wrote a book where they had atomic weapons. They already had the equations to build atomic weapons in the 1830s, ladies and gentlemen. They are suppressing all of this stuff, and they think they're God. And Agenda 21 is not to help you. They take model cities, take the building restrictions off, take the taxes off to build all a bunch of high-rises and make them beautiful and make them sexy. Austin is the world model of Agenda 21. You already take a great first-class city, great people, low taxes, everything, build it all fancy and say this is Agenda 21, like a piece of cheese on a rat trap to bring the rat in so it claps on his head. Cheese smells good, cheese looks good. And by the way, sometimes rats get really smart. An old trick, an old wives' tale trick, and I've had to do it, drop a few other pieces of cheese on the ground lining up. When they start seeing other rats get hit or mice get hit by the trap and get clapped, they stop going and taking the cheese or the peanut butter. Well, you know what you do? You start putting other foods out because they associate the smell of that food with getting killed. Oh, try this. Is this like the devil's always got this different sin? Oh, that didn't work? How about this? Is this the lever I find to move you? Well, if they stop doing that after you've killed 10 of the rats, you got to. They're crapping in your attic, make it stink in your house up. What do you do next? It happens to anybody who lives in the country. You dribble a few pieces of cheese out on the floor, knowing they're going to eat a couple pieces and think, this is good. This is good. This is good. I'm going to get that last big piece. Bam! You're dead. Boom! You're dead. Kill you and your rat family. You don't buy his DVD. It's an inside joke, one of my favorite videos out there. All right, continuing here, ladies and gentlemen. I said I'd go to your phone calls, and I need to. See, I could talk for 10 hours about Agenda 21. I haven't even gotten into all the evidence. It's diabolical. And, I mean, here's an example of the system and how evil it is. Did you know they're announcing in the United States, if you are a sperm donor, they're going to give your information over and make you pay child support? That's Agenda 21. Everything's a con game. Sperm donor forced to pay child support to lesbian couple despite giving up parental rights to the baby before she was born. It turns out the women broke up, and the woman went into the state, and guess what? The woman don't have to pay. You gonna pay, Jack. You gonna pay, Jack. See, it's all about injustice. All about injustice. See, because he's a family man and produces and has some money. You gonna pay. And that's why they're racing to shut everything down, because once they shut it down, they've got you. And oh my gosh, we're going bankrupt. We need to kill old people. And yeah, are there doctors that greedily know they've got a brain-dead woman or man, 79 years old, and they'll do double hip replacements and put 12 stents in their heart and do a brain surgery? Yep, and it's up to the state board to prosecute those people, not the feds, who are 10 times more corrupt. See, they can always point at little local corruption. There are $1 million cases where they go and take somebody who can't be saved and sit there and do this. But that's why you can't have a free country that's not moral. Rob Jacobson was talking to me during the last break, and he said, you know, why can't we arm teachers, but we're going to arm cops and trust them? And my example was, well, what about not arming pilots? You trust them to fly this giant, you know, multi-ton, giant, 100-ton aircraft, giant missile, tens of thousands of times the power of a handgun or rifle, but you don't trust them to have a gun in the cockpit. Because the message is you can't protect yourself and you can't take care of anything. And that's what Agenda 21 is the electronic kill grid, an attack on all civilization in the name of a new civilization. Because the globalists can't let us chart the course of technology in a good direction because it will empower us to a level that will transcend the ancient psychopath guilds that set up predatory subunits and prey on their own species. We have decadent, degenerate, cancerous subspecies, Homo sapiens psychopathicus, I don't know what you want to call it. We must transcend them by knowledge and teaching and understanding. Instead, we're letting these people play God because we don't crave being in charge. We give the world to them. You must first get over your fear, and then you must move against the enemy, or there's no future. You think it's fun to get up on the nightly news last night and have Stuart Rhodes say the things he said on air? It's very serious. He's a serious person, and so am I. This isn't a game. This isn't a drill. This isn't a joke. This is the real deal. You're being targeted. They learned with Hitler, he moved too quick. They know how to kill you quietly and softly now, and they've got all these little subsets of criminals. They even rate in computer systems, you know, mid-level minions and what type they are and their psychological breakdown. It's all there in the giant globalist NSA databanks. And they place the different psychology types in different formations, all because they have the fruits of our labor. And soon they won't need the fruits of our labor because of robotics. But they're going to use the robotics in farming and manufacturing to first make us purely dependent, where we'll do anything to get those baubles and trinkets of rank and social standing, but also survival. And then all the trinkets we're given will have a backdoor control to dehumanize us and track us and in the darkness bind us. And so we must understand that they're going to go, oh, you're right, we can't trust pilots to fly planes. That's why they're robotic. Who programs the robot? We're entering a psycho world run by technocrats. You're in a science fiction movie. And let me tell you, Gangnam Style, whoop, I mean, all that stuff is rhythmically designed to distract you, to divert you. All the little goofy programmed world where everything's fun, everything's funny, don't worry. It's all fun, it's all good, government loves me. It's a fraud. They're not going to stop just killing the old people. They're going to kill you, and they're already killing you. And they're already introducing the idea of, oh, all of Africa just died from that airborne Ebola or that mousepox. We've got to lock down our cities. Thank God we're safe. And well, you've retired now, and we don't need you anymore. You're obsolete, so we're going to get rid of you. That's actually the plan. Let's go to Bill Gates talking about it. Here it is. Bill Gates breaking it down, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we had a TriCaster heart attack. All day we've been prepared to play this.
That's what trade-off society is making because of very, very high medical costs and a lack of willingness to say, is spending $1 million on that last 3 months of life for that patient, would it be better not to lay off those 10 teachers and to make that trade-off in medical costs? But that's called the death panel, and you're not supposed to have that discussion. So of course,
that's an interesting thing you just said, which is just the last 3 months in life for one person or something, because we haven't had a discussion of how to allocate that money. It means we lay off 3 teachers to do so. I mean, in other words, we haven't had this type of allocation.
We're making that trade-off because of huge medical costs that are not examined to see which ones
that's enough.
Actually have no.
And then you let a guy whose dad was the head of Planned Parenthood and open eugenicist, so is Bill and his wife. You let a guy run your health care. The mistake we made was letting government and foreign corporations take over the health care, and now they can totally engineer us. And I was talking to CJ during the last break. He'll come back and talk about it, about the illegal aliens are the only one that get charity care now. because they're a client group meant to drive down the wages here domestically, just like prison labor. Today, there's an article in the New York Times. No, not the one calling for us to turn all our guns in. Literally. Georgetown law professor scrap archaic, idiosyncratic, and downright evil Constitution. That's a quote. Well, of course, a tyrant would call something that keeps separation of powers and checks and balances evil. As the nation teeters on the edge of fiscal chaos, observers are reaching the conclusion that the American system of government is broken. Because globalists have infiltrated it and maneuvered us towards being bankrupt, and the Republicans and Democrats are arguing over how much to increase taxes and how much to gut the country. Yeah, it's broken because you can't fully bankrupt us 10 times over like you've done Greece. They want to wreck us, folks, as the nation teeters on the edge of fiscal chaos. Yeah, by you people. Observers are reaching the conclusion. And then the weak-minded go, yeah, I am. I'm mad about the Constitution. Darn it, with property rights and juries and freedom and everything that made the country so wealthy. I want what they've got in North Korea. I want instant access with one hereditary dictator with big fat cheeks running everything. Hey, Hans. How you doing, Hans Blix? Come on in, Hans. We want to resurrect Kim Jong-il. Put him in charge. Yeah, he'll get things done. And this guy, it's not a dumb liberal. It's not a liberal saying get rid of our Constitution. They're pig tyrants. But they walk around with the NPR voice. Oh, hi. Oh, I'm real friendly. Get in the car, little kid. It's the same thing. Shh, get in the glue truck, little horsey. I talk real soft and act non-threatening. Though we got the government arming against you and we want your guns. Yeah, we're real friendly. We're real liberal, yeah. Meanwhile, you get around these people and behind the scenes, you're like, yeah. When we get you in the FEMA camps, we're going to stomp your guts out and rape your wife. But in public, I'm liberal. I mean, just look at these people as the nation teeters. Let me do it in the Ted Knight voice. As the nation teeters on the edge of financial chaos, observers are reaching the conclusion that the American system of government is broken. Seidman wrote, but almost no one blames the culprit. Our insistence on obedience to the Constitution, with all its archaic, idiosyncratic, and downright evil provisions. Time to scrap it. Time to scrap you, parasite. Some nobody professor perched in there with Obama at Georgetown. Perched in there like an elitist, seeing all of us like salami sandwiches in the cold case to be eaten off of, and figuring out ways in the government empire that if we could just increase taxes and increase productivity, we would be able to have a higher standard of living for us, the governing class. All I know how to do is sit around and act powerful and official all day. I mean, these people that run this government promote torture, murder, death, and then you see the lazy-eyed Obama supporter, the average idiot, literally stumbling around half dead from vaccines and GMO. When they're 30 years old, they look like they're 50. They're killing us all. Just look at the kids look like dead slobs everywhere. Rich neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods. They're just killing all of us, just zombies. And that's why they tell us we're zombies in all these movies, because we're turning into zombies. And it can be a simulation of, there's all these video games where you torture zombies now, and the zombies are getting more and more human. And again, it's all simulants to dehumanize us. They're telling us, you're garbage, you're undead, we don't need you. Because, see, they don't need biological androids anymore. They've got machines now. Doesn't mean they won't take their time and have fun cutting off your resources and having your daughters, get in the backs of their limousines to service them, while the elite literally defecate on them in many cases, so your daughter can get some money. It won't matter. Oh, they're going to take their time psychopathically. America and the world is one giant basement where a psychopath has all of us just having their way with us. And they really want to have their way with us now. But the Second Amendment stands in their way of gang raping and pulling our teeth out with pliers.
Thank you for listening.
By the way, I'm not joking. I've been in D.C. and other areas, and I watched the cream. These women are more beautiful than Miss America, loading in to all the UN vehicles and ambassador vehicles to go to the different globalist facilities and literally because you can read about statistically what the globalists are into, their art, everything, to absolutely desecrate beauty. That's what they live for. And because it's an act of domination, because these are nasty demons. And I, for one, am done with them. And I just want to make sure that when the globalists implode our country, everybody knows who did it. Because what matters is who wins in the end. All's well that ends well, That's right. Did you think the universe would not organically generate things to resist you? You think your stupid computers that you can't even read are going to be able to predict what humans are going to do? You will destroy yourselves. Let me consciously tell you the truth. Your body is already ordering you dead. Because even though you're consciously a psychopath and inhabited by dark evil, your body, your flesh even cries out against you. Because it was made by the Creator. And that's why you're so miserable and why you're so sick, all you evil people. That's why you want to make us sick, because you're inherently spiritually sick. But let me tell you, the pit you've dug, you will fall into it. We will not. Feinstein and the militia. Jay, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, sir, for holding. Go ahead.
I wanted to mention a video on YouTube I saw a while back about the militia, the American militia movement in 1995, confronting the Senate subcommittee on terrorism with Dianne Feinstein, and they basically go up there right a couple months after the Oklahoma City bombings.
No, and they blame gun owners as terrorists. Yeah, in fact, I saw those hearings live. What was the name of them? It was the Senate subcommittee on what?
It was the United States Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Terrorism, and I think it might have changed names a couple times or something. But anyway, it's just a perfect example of Mrs. Feinstein using race and demonizing the militia movement after this bombing happened. It's a really good video. You can see her. She asked them, each one of them, to answer the question: do you think, in any circumstance, it is okay to bomb a building? And they get mad, and it's such a dumb question.
No, I've seen those famous militia hearings. We ought to re-air some of those tomorrow. It's Senate militia hearings. I mean, there's a couple of them, but they're pretty powerful. And then there's a black militia guy, and they're asking him if he hates black people. Talking about that one?
It's so stupid.
Well,
yeah,
absolutely. No. I've seen the hearings. I will get to it. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'm glad you brought that up. In fact, that's the hearing where she's talking about concealed carry. Sabra in Washington, last person we have time to get to. Thanks for holding her on the air.
Oh, Alex, this is Klingon from Washington State, Alex. I love you, Alex. You're Elijah, Alex. Alex, you're Elijah. You got the saints backing you up. Now listen to me. Last night on George Norrie, 12:47 Pacific time, he said his granddaughter, Rihanna, 18 years old, was run off the road yesterday, twirled around down an embankment. He was very upset. December 15th, Alex, are you listening, darling?
Yes.
Hear me? They wait for me, Alex. They tried to rendition me, Alex. Do you remember me? I'm Klingons from Yahoo Chat. I'm Sabra. I raise and train Rottweilers.
Yeah. What happened to you? What happened to you?
Oh, Alex, this was their technique. I only get off the property 2-3 times a year. We live on 30 acres. We're always working against the Satanists. Always. Trust me, we're really busy. 2 or 3 years I get off the property. I went out for the first time in 4 months. They're on me. I'm coming back home. I'm at a stop sign out of town. We live south of Bellingham, Washington.
And what happened?
Yes, I'm at the light. It didn't turn red. I got a big 1-ton van sucked in behind me. An E350 Mercedes is in front of me. I noticed right away something was different.
What'd they do? What'd they do to you? We're almost out of time.
Oh, Alex, they tried to kill me. When they couldn't rendition me and stop me, they tried to run me into a pileup of 20 cars.
No, they got their black ops everywhere. Everybody better be ready.